In the world of extreme fantasy and beautiful magic, a child genius, Professor Negi, goes to his place of employment, a school with a lot of beautiful big melon ladies as students. Professor Negi is well loved by his students, and they look forward to his wonderful teaching. The students welcome him as he gets to school in the morning with smiles, but Professor Negi is not someone to trifle with, as he is quite powerful, and his sneeze can blow things away. Yes, with his sneeze he ripped the clothes of his students, allowing their melons and backsides to be flaunting in the breeze. Despite this excessive power display from Professor Negi, that seems to disgrace anyone, the girls still love him like a sweet box of pizza. Negi apologized for ripping their clothes to shreds, but Asuna, whose clothes were also ripped, would not forgive him, believing he was doing it on purpose. A young girl sits by the window, listening to the ruckus Asuna and Professor Negi are causing when another student brings a cup of tea to her, calling her master. The master is telling her story. She is Evangeline K. McDowell, a vampire who has lived for 700 years. She has had highs and lows like Microsoft stock on the exchange market. She advises against immortality, saying that it can be very lonely. She had been very lonely when she left everyone. Evangeline snaps out of her thoughts when a boy who looks exactly like Professor Negi calls her Yukihime, which was the name she was going by now. Evangeline had changed her looks to that of a hot beauty of around 30 years and also her name. As she walks towards the school where she teaches, a group of boys led by our loudmouthed protagonist Tota Kanoe jumps on her from a tree, hoping to get a hit on her. Unfortunately for the boys, she has a barrier around her stronger than Russia's borders, and they cannot hit her. She then punched them all, knocking them into the stream. In class, the beautiful Yukihime punished the boys and told them that they would get a chance to go to the capital if they could defeat her, which was what the village had told her. Yukihime told the students that going to the capital does not guarantee them a bright future. Tota scolds his big melon teacher for bossing them around and asks her about the barrier she has used. Tota's friends supported him, but Yukihime pretended to be deaf. The rest of the class seems to understand that Tota and his friends are in deep trouble, and they clear a large space in the middle of the class. Yukihime walked through the space cleared by her wise students towards the foolish boys, and she punched them, breaking the window and sending them out of the class. Later, her colleague, a gentle-looking four-eyed teacher, gently scolded her for her rough handling of the boys. He tried to defend their desire to go to the capital, but she was not hearing it. The four-eyed teacher would not let it go until Yukihime agreed to think about it. Tota and his goons of miscreants walk home from school while discussing Yukihime's magic. They want to be able to use magic, but unfortunately, they are not rich enough for it. Tota told his friends that they should practice more so that they could beat their big melon teacher. He made them aspire to go to the capital so that they could climb a tower that stretched into the heavens. The boys all pledged to climb the tower, but when they wanted to begin training, Tota took his leave as he had somewhere else to be. Tota went to the graveside of his family. He had been involved in an accident that took the life of his parents while his grandfather Negi Springfield had died a while back. Tota had lost his memory after the accident, but is glad as it allowed him to meet Yukihime, who is his guardian now. Tota had rejected Yukihime at first, even though she had taken him in. But while they were staying together, Yukihime had shown that she was a disaster in the kitchen, and Tota had taken the job of cooking for both of them. That act brought them together, although Tota still feels sad that he lost his parents. Tota finishes his ritual of greeting his dead family, and turns to leave when he sees an apparition of a four-eyed young man. The ghost changed to an older version of the young man he saw, telling him that it awaits at the top of the tower. Tota tried to question the ghost, but it had disappeared. That night, Tota made a wonderful dish for him and Yukihime. He claims to be the best at everything, and she teases him for being a dullard in class. Tota asks Yukihime to teach him magic, but she does not answer him. Then he goes outside to work out while promising to beat her one day. The next day, Yukihime beats the boys and crushes their hope of going to the capital. As they moped about, Yukihime's colleague Tachibana appeared and offered to help them. He gave the boys a wand that allowed them to use a bit of magic. Tachibana asked them to hide what he gave them from Yukihime. Tachibana spoke with much passion as he encouraged them to use magic. Unfortunately for our protagonist Tota, magic does not listen to him, so Tachibana tries a different approach. The generous and kind four-eyed teacher then gives him a band to use. That night, Tota thinks about the band he got from Tachibana and wonders if he can use it. Suddenly, Yukihime appears, startling him. She asks about the band, and Tota tells her he got it for her as a gift, then runs away in shame. The next day, Yukihime goes to get something from a store. On her way back, she admires the gift she got from her idiot of a ward, Tota. Suddenly, Tota's friends appeared, and Yukihime realized that they had used teleportation. Meanwhile, Tota is running to where she is because he cannot use magic. The boys use a vine to imprison Yukihime, but she still teases them for their feeble attempt to take her down. The boys assured her that they are stronger, but can they be stronger than my grandmother's pancakes? Tachibana joins them and praises them for their effort. Then he attacks the boys, knocking them all down so that he can face Yukihime. He brings out several weapons to attack her, and Yukihime attempts a counterattack, but because of the band on her wrist, it doesn't work. Yukihime is shocked when the weapon pierces her, and Tachibana tells her that she has a huge bounty on her head. Tachibana brings out a sword to finish Yukihime off, but before he can do anything, Tota appears and attacks him too. Tota scolds him for tricking them, but the four-eyed bounty hunter uses teleportation to appear beside Tota and cut off his hands while he is still talking. Tota looked at his hands on the floor as if they were some other object. The bounty hunter laughs like the Joker while he cuts him up like a sausage, teasing him all the way. Tachibana tries to cut off Tota's head, but but Yukihime appears and blocks the strike with her hands, shocking the bounty hunter that Yukihime can overcome the binding magic the boys had used on her. Yukihime praises Tota for his attack and thanks him for giving her a gift. Tachibana teases her for being able to break free of the binding spell and in joyous ecstasy chops Yukihime into pieces. Tota screams in shock, but the bounty hunter doesn't let him go and stabs him in the back. As Tota drifts into unconsciousness, Yukihime scolds him for trying to give up and tells him to save his friends from Tachibana. She explains that she had made him immortal 2 years ago and that he can either give up and live entirely as a human with regret for the rest of his life or wake up as an immortal monster and save his friends. She told him to drink her blood if he wished to save his friends, then thanked him for the time they had spent together. Tota tells Yukihime that there was only one choice and then licked her blood as it poured from her head. Tachibana had gotten to the boys and was about to kill them when Tota threw his chopped up arm at him. Tota scolds him and runs towards him, but Tachibana blocks Tota's attack. Then he chopped off Tota's second arm. He laughed at his victory when he saw that Tota was growing his arm back again. Tota rushed towards him and gave him a gut punch that knocked him out. Tota collapsed in exhaustion, and Yukihime, who had reverted to her original body, came to check on him. Tota woke up and found himself in Yukihime's lap. Yukihime explained to the idiot that he could no longer die and had saved his friends. Yukihime then told Tota the truth about herself and how his parents had pleaded with her to save him after their accident. She scolded herself for making him immortal, but the idiot thought it was a good thing to live forever. Yukihime told him that there was nothing to be happy about, but no one could take away Tota's joy in seeing her alive. His friends called out to him, and they greeted each other for escaping death at the hands of the bounty hunter. The next day, Tota's friends wished him farewell as he left the village with Yukihime. They were sad that they could not leave with him and advised him to be safe. Tota and Yukihime headed toward the capital, and Yukihime asked Tota about his goal after climbing the tower. Tota recalled the vision he saw and told Yukihime that something was amazing at the top of the tower. Tota marvels at the state of the infrastructure in the city and wonders why no one seems to be on the road. Yukihime explains that there are fewer people in the world than he thinks, but Tota is not interested in whatever she is saying. His only concern is the tower and the fact that they are walking to the capital. Yukihime asks Tota about his enthusiasm, and the jovial idiot tells her that he gets to make new friends in the new place they are going to. The two immortal idiots arrive at a place and stop to rest. Yukihime reminds him that they are immortals, so he should be careful about making friends. Tota goes to take a bath in the river. He is thinking about what Yukihime told him about his new life and his friends when his head hits the backside of someone else bathing. As naive as he is, Tota does not apologize, but asks them who they are. The strange person, whom he met unclad, gets pissed off with the idiot who has no sense of decency and pulls out a sword to cut off his head. Tota jumps away in defense, telling the strange person to wait. Then he sees that the strange person is not a guy and is about to comment when the stranger smashes Tota's mouth with their sword. Later, after they are dressed, Tota apologizes for his annoying remarks, but the strange person pulls out their sword again at Tota. The strange person gives their name as Kuramaru and praises Tota for being able to dodge their attack. Tota introduces himself and says he is going to the tower. Kuramaru tells Tota that he came from the tower. The naive Tota becomes so excited to meet someone from the top of the tower. Unfortunately for him, Kuramaru had been kicked out of his super rich family. They tell him to kill the Dark Evangel before coming home, but Tota, who knows that Kuramaru is talking about Yukihime, does not say anything. Kuramaru suddenly notices that Tota does not have a reflection just as Yukihime joins them. Kuramaru attacks Yukihime, but she stops his sword with her finger and then teases them for being part of a family of monster hunters. Tota tries to stop his new friend, but Kuramaru only tells him that his family must hunt monsters like them. Kuramaru uses a powerful technique and can attack when Yukihime suddenly stabs him with her hand. Tota is afraid that she has killed his friend and scolds Yukihime, but Kuramaru heals instantly, surprising both idiotic immortals. Tota decides to use that moment to confirm if his new friend is a woman or a man, and as he tries to check, Kuramaru wakes and punches him. Kuramaru scolds the idiot for trying to peek in their clothes. Tota assures them that he did not see anything. Then Kuramaru faces Yukihime again, who is ready to teach the young dumb fool a lesson or two. Tota tries to stop them, but Kuramaru is filled with the pain he feels from their family's rejection. Yukihime, who is a fun lover like Harley Quinn, tells Kuramaru to defeat Tota if they wish to face her. Kuramaru then faces Tota while Yukihime sits to watch the show. Kuramaru attacks Tota with speed, but he dodges every strike. Tota tries to reason with Kuramaru, but the naive fool is too far gone to listen. Tota decides to be serious but adds a condition to the fight. He also tells Kuramaru that he does not have a weapon. Kuramaru foolishly brings out a weapon and gives it to him. Tota, who is as crazy as he is an idiot, throws the weapon towards Kuramaru and manages to land a hit on him while dodging Kuramaru's sword. The fight becomes serious, and they both score hits on each other, enough to impress Yukihime. Kuramaru suddenly cuts off Tota's head, thinking the battle is over, but Tota grabs his head and sticks it back on his neck, then punches a surprised Kuramaru into the ground, winning their little fight. Tota becomes afraid that he has killed Kuramaru, but the naive fool eventually gets upset that he has lost. He is worried that Tota would require something perverted from him, but Tota only asks him to be his friend. Later, Tota and Kuramaru go to a hot spring, but Kuramaru is ashamed of their body, making Tota tease them. Tota had forced them to sign a contract that made them best friends for life. Tota then teases them again and receives a bucket on his head. The friends talk about Kuramaru's family and how they had kicked him out. Then Tota tells them to join him and Yukihime in their adventures. Kuramaru starts moping like a wet rag. Then Tota suggests that they go peek in the women's bath, pointing to a cliff where Yukihime is. Tota explains that they would get to see Yukihime's body if they climbed it, but Kuramaru is not interested. Tota tells him that the main goal is to climb the cliff. Kuromaru tries to stop Tota from climbing because Yukihime is very strong, but Tota does not hear of it and decides to go alone. The idiot climbs the cliff to the top and jumps in the bath but does not see Yukihime. Instead, he sees a young girl and wonders who she is. The naive idiot doesn't know that she is Yukihime, so she has to change back to the body that Tota recognizes. Tota teases Yukihime for her body and she punishes him with an ice attack. Kuromaru is afraid that Yukihime has killed Tota, while Tota is interested in the magic that Yukihime used to attack him. Yukihime then attacks him again, knocking him off the cliff. Kuromaru sees Tota falling down the cliff and rushes up to save him. They manage to grab Tota's hand, who tells his new friend to throw him. Kuromaru throws him, and the idiot uses that opportunity to grab Yukihime's towel from her body. Yukihime wants to reward Tota with a peek at her body, but Tota teases her for her age, and she punishes him for it. Kuromaru laughs as he watches them play with each other, and Tota becomes happy that Kuromaru has accepted them. Yukihime promises to train Kuromaru so that they can challenge her. Tota then teases Kuromaru for dressing like a girl. Kuromaru joins Tota and Yukihime as they head back to the city. Tota is glad to have made a new friend. As they head to the city, Tota wonders if the world has a lot of immortals, and Yukihime confirms it. Tota wishes they could gather all immortals and make them a team of superheroes like the Avengers. The naive idiot reminds them that they have amazing powers, so they should use them for good. Kuromaru is shocked that he would think like that, while Yukihime teases Tota for his dream, then tells him that someone had told her that some time ago. Just then, a bunch of cars drive up to them, and one manages to knock the jovial idiot away. A man in a suit and a girl in a school uniform come out of one of the cars and greet Yukihime. Many men in black come out and roll out a rug for the mistress to walk to the car. It turns out Yukihime is the boss of an organization that is like the Yakuza. Tota is shocked by what he is seeing and asks Yukihime about it, but the schoolgirl gets angry with Tota's familiarity with her boss and mocks him for being the that Yukihime had been taking care of. She wishes to kill him, but Yukihime tells her that it would take too long. Yukihime heads to the car and turns to Tota to tell him that his dream of creating an organization of immortals is a little bit late, as she has already gone and created the UQ Holder, a family of immortals. Yukihime and her goons get on a yacht that takes them to an island where her headquarters is. Tota is excited to meet all the strong people in the group and wants to make friends with all of them. Meanwhile, the schoolgirl scolds her boss for taking on the imbecile and foolish Tota. Yukihime tells her that she and Tota are probably the strongest in her crew, so they have to become friends, but the schoolgirl only gets more pissed off. Tota marvels at the headquarters of the organization and sees how the men in black show respect and love to Yukihime, but she keeps throwing them away like used rags. Tota and Kuromaru wonder what kind of powers they would find there when a bunch of freaks join them, including the schoolgirl whose name is Karen. One of them, a four-eyed man in a butcher's apron, explains that there are several kinds of powerful beings in the world. They introduce themselves as Gengoro, who is UQ holder number 6, and a jovial Ameya, who is UQ holder number 10. Tota wishes to be friends with all of them, but Gengoro tells him that they have to pass a test before they can join them. Tota becomes so happy that all it takes to join them is to defeat a lot of monsters. What a weird freak. But Yukihime has another plan for Tota and Kuromaru. She wants them to fight the UQ holders. They can use whatever weapon they like and can even use sneak attacks. Kuromaru reminds the excited Tota that they have to be careful or they will fail the test. Gengoro says he will face Kuromaru, while Karen decides to teach the idiot favorite of her master a lesson. Tota jumps on Karen to land a blow, but she jumps out of the way and smashes his head with her weapon. She teases him for attempting to hit her without thinking, while Kuromaru is concerned that he has no sense of a gentleman. Tota explains that there is no difference between a man and a woman in a fight. Kuromaru politely asks Gengoro for a fight and then attacks him, but is beaten like a sack of wheat. Later, Tota complains to Kuromaru that he was unable to land a hit on Karen. He wants to attempt to surprise her when she is bathing, which shocks Kuromaru, but Tota knows that he will still get beat. Kuromaru recalls his fight with Gengoro, which was like Thanos fighting a cripple. The friends see a servant girl carrying trash, and then she trips and falls. Tota and his friend decide to help her, and she thanks them for their help. She is a regular human working at the headquarters. Tota introduces himself and his friend to the girl, whose name is Yuki. They promise to help her with any chore, but Kuromaru reminds Tota that they have to pass the test. Tota promises to continue training for the test, but is willing to help Yuki with any tasks. Yukihime thinks about Tota's grandfather and when he had come to take her test. He had come with a lot of girls from his class where he taught, who came to encourage him. Yukihime wonders how Tota would pass, but the idiot is busy helping Yuki with her chores. Tota is carrying some boxes with Kuromaru when he hears a voice in his head. He follows the voice and goes to a dungeon. Kuromaru teases him for his stupidity, but they keep going further into the dungeon. They get to a place where there is a sword stuck in the ground, and a man more drunk than Jack Sparrow sitting not far from it. The red-haired Jack Sparrow-like man teases them and introduces himself as Jinbei Shishido, UQ holder number 2. This impresses the boys, but the man is as foolish as Tota is idiotic. Then Jinbei asks Tota to pull the magical sword. He tells him to take it if he can pull the sword, which has been a pain in the for those using it. Tota is not impressed with the sword and refuses, but Jinbei tells him that it makes guys look cool if they have their weapons. Tota goes to the sword and tries but is unable to pull it out. Jinbei teases him for failing to pull it out. Tota hears the voice again, advising him to turn a switch on the sword, which he does, and he can pull out the sword. Jinbei was shocked and asked him the trick he had used, but Tota replied that someone had spoken to him. The sword spoke again, surprising Tota, but Jinbei scolded the sword for giving Tota a hint. Jinbei collected the sword and turned the switch before returning it. Tota grabbed the sword, but it was suddenly heavy and it crushed his hand. Jinbei explains that he can change the weight of the sword anytime in a fight. He told Tota that the sword would be good for him if he could master it. Then he showed the boys as he increased the weight of the sword sword to different levels. Tota, who is as crazy as Jinbei is drunk, becomes excited with the sword and promises to do his best. The boys began training in the dungeon every day, while they helped Yuki with her chores. Jinbei reports to Yukihime that the boys are doing well with their training, but she is interested in her missing alcohol. The boys continued the training until the last day of the test when they emerged from the dungeon, ready to face their examiners. Kuromaru promises Gengoro that they will hit him before the day sets, and suddenly attacks him. Karen was walking, waiting for Tota's surprise attack, when he called her from the top of a building. He promises not to hold back and jumps on her, raising the weight of the sword 1,000 times, but Karen manages to block the attack. Gengoro teases Kuromaru as he blocks his every strike, making the naive idiot pissed off and loses composure. Gengoro goes on the attack, but Kuromaru manages to stay on the defense. Kuromaru recalls Tota's madness in a fight and leaves his arm open for Gengoro to strike. Gengoro cuts off his arm, but Kuromaru uses the arm to pull out another sword and strike Gengoro with it. Gengoro dies, but he revives himself. Turns out he has more lives than a cat, and then praises Kuromaru for passing the test. Meanwhile, Tota is still struggling with Karen, who blocks his every strike. Yuki was cleaning when she encountered a monster whose saliva could burn the skin, and she panicked. Tota continues to attack Karen and manages to knock her down, but before he can land the strike, he hears Yuki scream. Tota runs off to check on his friend and sees her surrounded by monsters. Karen joins him and tells him the strategy they would use. She draws the monsters away, allowing the idiotic Tota to take Yuki to safety. Kuromaru and Gengoro join them before Tota goes to deal with the monsters. The foolish boy increases the weight of the sword by 50,000 times and jumps in the middle of the monsters, destroying them all. The naive and jovial idiot remembered that Karen was in the middle and called on her. She then appeared, but her clothes were torn. Yukihime appeared too, and congratulated them for dealing with the monsters. Yukihime asks about the test, and Gengoro tells her that Kuromaru has passed, while Tota begins pleading with Karen to let him fight her again. Karen told Yukihime that Tota had passed since he had damaged her clothes, making him run to hug her, but she hit him in the head. Yukihime told them that they had made a hole that allowed the monsters to escape from the dungeon, so they had to go and kill all the monsters in the dungeon. She opened a hole in the ground that sent them down to the dungeon. Jinbei, who was watching from the shadows, was about to sneak off when Yukihime turned to him and reminded him that he had stolen her alcohol. Then she sent him to join Tota and Kuromaru in dealing with the monsters. Tota trains with his sword in the courtyard and tells Yuki that he and Kuromaru have a sudden assignment from Yukihime. Yukihime had told the jealous Karen to watch over them on the new assignment, and she had been eager to do it because it would allow her to deal with the idiot Tota. It was supposed to be an easy assignment, and Tota believed that he would get to relax in a car. Unfortunately, Karen made them run to their destination. She explained the situation of the city to them. There were so many poor people around the capital city who had all moved to the slums. Yukihime sent Karin and the two boys to protect an orphanage in the slums. Tota praises the cold-hearted Karen for acting so tough but being kind. She smashes his head for not showing respect. Tota runs ahead and sees a group of men in suits standing in front of the orphanage. He jumps in their midst, knocking them all down. The naive and foolish idiot announced to the orphanage that he had come to save them, but the nun told him that he had knocked down other members of the UQ holders. Tota, Kuromaru, and Karen decide to use arm wrestling to determine who will do the chores, and Tota loses everything like the dumb loser he is. Tota is pissed that he lost, but he prepares a meal for them, and after dishing the meal, everyone is impressed with his cooking skill. Karen teases him about being nothing but a cook and advises him to be a chef, but Tota rejects the advice. Everyone then suggested that Tota should cook every time because he is terrible at arm wrestling. Karen advises him to do flash step training if he wishes to be better. Later, the nun takes Karen and Kuromaru to see what the slums look like while Tota heads to a large space for his flash step training. The idiot begins running around the field until he wakes up one jacked up soldier-looking guy. The guy is pissed with the comedy show that Tota is displaying in the name of flash step training. Tota stops running around believing he has completed the training, but the guy suddenly attacks him. The strange jacked up guy begins teaching the idiot what a flash step truly is. The guy claims to be a wandering martial artist and is interested in Tota's flash step training. Tota tells the strange guy that he wants to learn the flash step so that he can win an arm wrestling competition. The strange guy shows Tota how he had made a mess of the flash step and then teaches him the proper way to go about it. Tota is impressed by the guy, and the guy shows him a diagram of how arm wrestling relates to the flash step. Tota does not understand, and the strange guy tells him that he has to be flexible with his feet. The strange guy shows the doubting idiot a flash step technique in space, impressing him more. The strange jacked up guy then introduces himself as Kaido, the wandering martial artist. He promises to make Tota his student if he impresses him with his learning. That night, the idiotic Tota makes a dish with his feet, which still impresses everyone at the orphanage. They tease him for using his legs, but still enjoy the meal. Tota even uses his feet to eat, although he struggles a lot. The next day, Tota joins Kaido for training and has improved much, but he still raises some dust. Kaido shows him again, and Tota goes home to continue practicing with his legs, using his legs to do everything he would have done with his hands. Kaido and Tota practice, but Tota still hasn't gotten the gist of the training. Kaido tells him that he had practiced with his legs for 6 months. Kuromaru asks Tota about his training while the naive idiot is using his feet to cook. Kuromaru offers to teach him the flash step, but Tota rejects his offer. The next day, two tough-looking men appear in the slum, and Kaido joins them. He tells Nagumo, his blind boss, that he has been training a strong kid in the slum. Nagumo reminds him that they had come to cleanse the slums, and Kaido replies that he is keeping his skills up. Suddenly, Kaido changes into a werewolf, and the third guy, who is more of a pervert than a villain, teases him for his soft fur. Nagumo then leads his team of immortal hunters to the slums to begin the cleansing. The UQ holders men in black were patrolling the slum when Tota, and a little boy from the slum, who was also training his legs like Tota, brought food for them. them. The guards were eating when they were attacked by some ugly-looking puppets. Karen takes a bath in the shower room while the nun stands guard outside. A portal opens on the ground, and one of the immortal hunters tries to attack Karen, but she puts up a barrier immediately. Karen manages to collect the gun from him and shoot him, but he blocks it with his dagger. The crazy pervert teases her for not falling for his attack, but Karen is concerned for those outside. The pervert attacks, and she counters with the gun, but the guy knocks the gun out of her hands, making her use her fist to beat sense into his head. The pervert slashes her neck, but her skin refuses to cut. This impresses him, and he goes all crazy like the Joker, and then gets an opening to punch the guy. She holds the guy to the wall, but he opens a portal and brings out another gun, then shoots her inside her mouth. The pervert teases Karen for not feeling any pain. Like someone who has done one too many BDSM, he praises her for giving him the chance to fight her. He introduces himself as Chow, and tells her that he is there to delay her. Meanwhile, Tota goes around with the slum kid and learns how the children in the slum make a living. Then they notice the fires in the slum, and Tota tries to call the guards, but no one answers. They had all been killed by the ugly-looking puppets. Suddenly, they are attacked by the puppets too, and Tota rushes to protect the slum kid. Kuromaru kicks the puppets away like they were empty shells. They wonder what to do about the situation since the enemies have started a fire to drive out the residents of the slum. Kuromaru advises that they meet up with Karen when Kaido suddenly appears before them in his werewolf form. The blind boss, Nagumo, also appears behind them, and Tota tells the little boy to run back to the slum. Kaito teases Tota for being an immortal vampire and suddenly attacks him, placing a magic seal on him. Then Kaito turns to Kuromaru. As Kuromaru prepares to defend himself, Nagumo attacks, but he dodges the strike. Nagumo tells Kaido that they will attack Kuromaru together because of his fighting style. Tota is still sprawled on the ground like a sack of potatoes, while Karen is suffering in Chow's perverted hands. Karen attempts to break free, but Chow, who uses shadow magic, binds her and immobilizes her using the shadow magic. Chow stabs Karen and teases her for her magical abilities, excited to meet her. Kuromaru uses a technique and sends some fireworks into the sky. The enemies attack him, but he manages to stay out of harm's way while dealing with his attack. Kaido gets in and kicks Kuromaru, distracting him enough for Nagumo to cut off his hand. Kaido attacks again, but Kuromaru manages to cut off the enemy's hand too before running away. Kuromaru attaches his hand back as Kaido does the same to his hand. Kaido teases Kuromaru and prepares to defeat him using a flash step. Kuromaru does not even see the attack coming. Then Kaito begins to pound into him like he was dough, then cuts him in two with a powerful kick. Kuromaru lands in front of the unconscious Tota. Tota was still bound by the magic seal Kaido had used on him, and Kuromaru feared his fate. Kaido used some weapons to pin Kuromaru to the ground and was about to attack him with some ice when the slum kid jumped in front of Kuromaru to protect him. The slum kid dares the hunters to come at him so that he can stop them from destroying his town. Many years ago, a little girl had been targeted by witch hunters, but after many tries, they could not kill the girl. She feels pain but does not spill any blood. They began to call her the Steel Saint, and one day, a girl appeared and took her away from the town. The pervert Chow teases Karen for being the Steel Saint while he twists his dagger inside her body. He is impressed because she does not bleed. He continues to tease her and lick her face. The slum kid runs to attack Kaido, but he is like a fly going to attack King Kong. Kaido stops his attack with a finger and grabs him to kill him. The slum kid asks why they want to kill him, and Nagumo explains that they have been paid to kill them because the land does not belong to the slum dwellers. The mercenaries had been paid to do the dirty work for the rich folks who lived atop the tower. Kaido prepares to kill the slum kid, and Kuromaru pulls out the weapons pinning him down, then jumps to cover the slum kid from Kaido's strike. The strike never came as Tota had broken the seal binding him and blocked Kaido. Chow continues to tease Karen, but she is as cold-hearted as a blade of steel and kicks him in the nuts. Then she breaks the shadow binding he had used on her. Chow sees her glowing and teases her for being cursed, but she replies that she has been blessed out of love. Karen kicks him, making him spin like a bottle top for a few seconds, and when he stops spinning, she uses a holy fist to punch him before launching a barrage of attacks on him, eventually knocking the pervert out cold. Tota faces Kaido, ready to take him on, and smiles when Kuromaru asks how he had managed to break free from his spell. Nagumo wonders too how the idiot had managed to free himself, and asks about the ugly-looking gauntlet on his arms. Tota is shocked that he has a gauntlet on his arms, but is still pissed that they beat up his friends. Kaido tries to attack, but Tota dodges and strikes him in the gut. Kuromaru asks Tota about his new look, but Tota only knows that it is quite powerful. Nagumo can feel the power in Tota and tells Kaito about it, but Kaito is a fight freak. Tota asks Kuromaru about his regeneration, and is excited that he will finally get to see if Kuromaru is a guy or a girl. Kaito tries a sneak attack on Tota but gets a punch to his jaw for his troubles. Nagumo is trying to figure Tota out while Kaito is excited to meet a powerful opponent. Tota tells Kuromaru to take the slum kid to safety while he deals with the two mercenaries. Kuromaru is concerned that he will take on both of them, but Karen appears immediately and promises to handle the stronger one. Karin apologizes to Tota for the mission going wrong. Kaito approaches for a fight, and Tota agrees to fight him, figuring that he is Kaido. Kaito laughs and transforms back to his human form. Tota praises him for his abilities and asks why he is beating up children. Kaito replies that he only wants to fight monsters like Tota and can do any job as long as he gets to meet monsters like Tota. They faced each other, promising to beat each other, then use flash steps to get an opening for an attack. Both of them continued to pound at each other for a few seconds. Then Kaito decided to show Tota what it means to use the flash step. He used super speed to close the distance and pierce Tota's heart, ending the fight. Kaito was about to seal Tota when Tota's aura changed, and Kaito lost his hand as he tried to pull it out of Tota's body. Tota must be a crazy and freakish monster, as he gathered his heart, which was crushed to pieces by the crazy Kaito, and healed it. Nagumo explained to Karin that Tota is using a very powerful magic called Magia Arabia. The user of the magic risks the loss of his soul. There are only two known users of the magic. The first was the Dark Evangel, Yukihime's former name, and the second user, who wielded a complete form of the magic, was Negi Springfield, the disciple of the Dark Evangel. Nagumo had met both of them some years back on Mars and feared that a third user would shake the balance of the world. Tota, meanwhile, is treating Kaido like a worthless rag and throwing him around. He threw him into a building, then rushed Kaido with a barrage of attacks that made Nagumo fear. Nagumo wants to go and stop Tota, but Karen stops him with her blade and assures him that the UQ holders will take care of Tota should he become a threat to the world. Kaito had given up on fighting as he could not beat the monster that was Tota. He surrenders and asks Tota to kill him, but Tota does not answer him. Tota stops his attacks and begins to fight the murderous rage he has, and manages to suppress the magic on his own. Kaito, who is a werewolf, heals faster and is ready to fight again, but Tota teases him. Kaito accepts his defeat and praises Tota for his strength, then suggests that they end the fight with a flash step battle of arm wrestling. Tota joins Kaito for the arm wrestling face-off. Karen and the others join them to watch the battle. Nagumo commends Tota for being able to suppress the powerful magic. Kaito flips a coin to begin the arm wrestling. Once the coin touches the ground, Kaito struggles to win, and he sees Tota crying as he scolds Kaito for his life choices. He scolds Kaito like a little boy, who becomes remorseful. Kaito is surprised that Tota is using his natural power to wrestle him, and in anger, Tota crushes his arm and destroys the building in the process. Nagumo is impressed that Tota defeated Kaito without using Magia Arabea. Even Karen is impressed. Kaito pleads with Tota to kill him, but Tota does not hear of it, and Nagumo appears to take his colleague away. The residents of the slum gather around to watch the fire spread, and just then, Yukihime appears and uses her ice to put out the fire. Nagumo is impressed by the display, and Yukihime joins them and greets him. Tota is surprised that she knows the blind mercenary boss, but Yukihime mocks him for getting beaten by the opponents. Yukihime praised Kuramaru for alerting them with his fireworks, and then Nagumo apologized for dragging Yukihime into the fight. He draws his sword and everyone gets ready to fight, but he only opens a portal so that he can escape with Kaito. The good guys then went down to the town, and Tota told her about the magic he had used. Yukihime explained that he had gotten it because he was from her blood and a part of her family. The slum kids call the UQ holders to eat with them, and Tota teases Karen for smiling but receives a head smash from her weapon. They never knew a drone was capturing the whole scene, and that they were being watched by someone at the top of the tower. Tota's magical sword complains to Kuramaru that the jovial idiot had not taken him along for a fight. Kuramaru asks the sword about Tota's display of powerful magic, and the sword teases him for having feelings for Tota. Kuramaru runs away in shame and then sees Tota going on a trip with Yuki. Yuki had built a motorboat from scraps, which impressed the naive idiot Tota as they cruised on her invention. Yuki told Tota her dream, and Tota encouraged her, making her happy. Kuramaru goes to take a bath and thinks back on what the sword had asked her about her feelings for Tota. Karen comes to the boys' room to give an assignment to Kuramaru and sees Kuramaru's unclad body. She assumes Kuramaru is a girl and tells her that it is wrong to have a girl and a guy stay in the same room. Kuramaru defends himself and says that he is not a girl. In fact, he does not have a gender. I think that is the opposite of a hermaphrodite. He wishes that Karen would hide the truth from Tota. Kuramaru is part of a race that chooses whatever gender they want to be when they get to a certain age. Karen attacks Kuramaru as she asks him which gender he intends to pick. Karen wants Kuramaru to choose to be a girl so that she can fall in love with Tota. She is only trying to defend her jealousy, as Yukihime has taken Tota to be her new favorite. Karen knocks Kuramaru's sword out of his hands and orders him to choose to be a girl. Ameya, who has used tech to upgrade his body, was watching the fight and joined them. Karen tries to defend her actions, but he assures them that he will not spill Kuramaru's secret. Meanwhile, Tota was cleaning and wondering where Kuramaru was. A girl who looked like she was just coming from a journey appeared at the door and asked for Tota. It turns out Ameya had made Kuramaru dress up as a girl and change her hair color to deceive Tota. He wanted Kuramaru to go on a date with Tota as a girl so that Kuramaru could decide if he wanted to be a girl or a guy. Tota thought he had met Kuramaru's cousin Kuryu, but it was Kuramaru in disguise. Although Tota is unhappy that Kuramaru has kept the truth about his cousin from him, Kuryu asks Tota to show her around the capital. Tota does not know anywhere, but Kuryu insists, and the naive, idiotic Tota agrees. Karen and Ameya were listening from a hidden place. She then told Ameya that he would do the assignment she had wanted Kuramaru to do. Tota and Kuramaru get Yuki's motorboat, but she warns them that the boat does not go fast. Tota sees a strange person, and Yuki explains that the little girl lives on the top floor of the tower. The strange girl, who is four-eyed like my grandma, looks with fear as Tota takes Kuryu on the motorboat to the capital. Meanwhile, Tota and Kuramaru enjoy the boat ride to the city's capital, and Kurobo, the sword, complains that Tota has left him behind again. Tota and Kuryu get to the capital, and Tota shows the pretty blonde girl a good time around the city. Kuryu, who is Kuromaru, is having fun following Tota around, and then her sandals break. Tota fixes them while they wait under a tree. This makes Kuromaru start to feel like being a girl would be the best thing for him. The naive, genderless idiot decides that they should check out the tower. Unknown to them, Chao, the crazy pervert that the cold-hearted Steel Saint Karen had fought, was watching them from the shadows. Jinbei and Yukihime discuss Tota's manifestation of the powerful Magia Arabea. Yukihime is concerned for Tota, and Jinbei teases her for it. Yukihime threatens Jinbei with ice for his playfulness, then announces that Tota has caught the eye of a powerful person. It was the strange man who was watching their last fight through a drone, and his name was Fate Avarunkus. Tota and Kuryu get to the top of the tower, and he becomes excited to be there. He scolds himself for paying a lot of money to reach the top like little children in an amusement park. Kuryu asks Tota his reason for coming to the top of the tower, and he recalls the vision he had seen. Tota lies, saying that he and his friends pledged to come to the top of the tower. Tota tells Kuryu that Kuramaru is his best friend, and Kuromaru, in Kuryu's body, feels sad that Tota accepts him as a guy, and not as a girl. Then he asks Tota if he has any interest in girls, but becomes ashamed that she is not as cute. Tota assures her that she is cute, and encourages her to be more confident. Tota steps away to get something while Kuromaru thinks about changing to a girl for Tota. The sun comes out, and the Shadow Mage comes out to attack Tota. Subconsciously, Tota strikes him, and then turns to fight. Chao opens a shadow portal that starts to suck Tota in, and Kuromaru, forgetting that he is a girl at the time, brings out his sword to defend his friend. But the enemies are prepared for them. The lover boy is unable to defend himself properly, because he is in a girl's body and is knocked down. The four-armed man with swords in each arm scolds the crazy pervert for attacking when their mission is to observe the naive idiot Tota. Chao says he could not resist attacking and teases his colleague for being a stick in the mud. Kuromaru sees that the enemies are about to go with Tota, and his adrenaline pumps up. He attacks Chao and his colleague Asura, but Chao recovers quickly and counters by slashing Kuromaru's neck. Asura attacks Kuromaru again and knocks him out of the window, then follows him out and continues to attack him. Kuromaru wakes up all torn and ragged, then Chao attacks him again, using shadow magic, and starts to suck Kuromaru into the shadows. Asura teases Chao for his perversions, while Kuromaru thinks about Tota and his joviality. Kuromaru recalls Tota asking him to be his friend, and then becomes mad. Kuromaru snaps the shadow binding Chao had used on him, and jumps out, attacking Chao at the same time. He declares himself to be Tota's partner, and promises to protect the dumb idiot as he pulls him out of the shadow prison that Chao had put him in. Asura decides to fight further but runs away because the police are coming. The naive and jovial idiot also wakes up at that moment. He sees Kuromaru and asks about Kuryu. Kuromaru tells the dumb idiot that he had taken his cousin somewhere safe and then scolds him for allowing himself to be taken by the bad guys. Kuromaru decides not to choose to be either a girl or a boy, but to let fate decide for them. Then Tota tells him that Kuryu is kinda hot, and that he could marry her if he is to marry, making Kuromaru blush at the thought. Meanwhile, the strange girl whose name was Kiri is still playing in the sand, and then Amaya comes to meet her to tell her the boat is ready to take her to the capital. Amaya wonders why she has been playing in the sand for a long time, and asks her if there is a special occasion, but she tells him that the special occasion is only just beginning. Karen and Amaya follow Kiri to the capital. Upon reaching, Karen takes Kuromaru aside to ask about his date with Tota. Amaya then introduces the shy and fearful Kiri to Tota, who asks to have a private meeting with the dumb idiot. Once they reach a corner for their discussion, Kiri sheds her shyness and becomes very bold. She demands that Tota show her respect and orders him to sit and bark like a dog. Kiri reveals her dominatrix side. Kiri wants to step on his face, but he draws the line and shows her that, though he may be an incompetent idiot, he is still a man. Kiri replies that she wants to step on him for all the times he failed to save her. Tota does not understand what she is talking about, but as she tries to explain to the incompetent and naive idiot, Chao, the crazy pervert that Karen had fought in the previous episode, appears and slashes her throat. Tota rushes to help her, but she stops him from going after the killer. She holds the idiot's hand and then dies. Tota screams and then blacks out. He wakes up to find himself at the base. He wonders how he got there, and Kiri scolds Tota for his grand stupidity and explains that she turned back time. Amaya and Karen suddenly appear to take Kiri to the capital. They wonder how Tota came back to the castle, and the idiot, whose brain is smaller than that of a mosquito, is about to spill Kiri's secret, but she steps on his toes to stop him. On the way to the capital, Karen wonders how Tota reappeared at the castle. She and Amaya discuss the rumors surrounding Kiri's power. Kiri tries to explain how her powers work, which impresses Tota, but she assures him that dying is not as fun as riding a horse. Kiri can turn back time, and even take someone else with her to a save point. Kiri tells the incompetent idiot that she has died several times because he kept running after the killer. She informs Tota that he is important to the future, which is why she wants to warn him about it. Upon reaching the capital, they meet Kuromaru, who is surprised to see Tota back with Karin and the others. Karin takes Kuromaru aside to ask about their date, while Kiri asks Amaya for permission to speak with the incompetent and stupid Tota. In a corner, Kiri explains how she began the death loop. She had gone for a meeting at the tower, which impressed Tota, as he thought she must be quite wealthy. She had then met Kuromaru and Tota on their date. As Kiri was explaining, Chao appeared, but Tota, who was with him, gave him a super kick that knocked him back. Tota apologized to Kiri for making her relive the same day because of his stupidity. Chao realizes that Kiri is a threat and fades into the shadows to renew his attack. Tota strikes Chao with his sword, sending him into the horizon, which impresses the false dominatrix little girl, and she praises him. Kiri then tells Tota that Fate Avarunkus is coming for him. This had happened when she and Kiri were resting in a restaurant. They had heard a commotion and went to check, seeing a strange man holding Tota hostage and the UQ holders fighting with the man. Fate Avarunkus made mincemeat of Amaya by slicing him in two with a kick, while Karen got sent to the moon with a punch. Tota gets mad, seeing his allies defeated like flies, and tries to fight, but Fate also smashes his body after petrifying him. Kuromaru jumps to save his friend, but Fate shows him that he is still a baby in the game. Fate then appears behind Kiri and petrifies her too, but before the petrification can complete, she kills herself to go back to the save point. Tota was shocked by the whole story and wondered who Fate was. Kiri told him that Fate was an enemy of humanity. They continue to argue about the whole thing when Amaya and Karen join them, having eavesdropped on their conversation. Now they know Kiri's ability, and Tota agrees with them that her power is quite amazing. Amaya explains to the incompetent idiot that they do not share their abilities unless necessary, because it could make people take advantage of them. Tota assures Kiri that he and his friends would never take advantage of her ability for selfish reasons. Amaya and Karen agree with him, but Kiri still scolds the dumb idiot and adds a slap to it. Then she tells them that she has a plan to capture Fate Avarunkus. She gives gives them a rundown of the plan. Since she had witnessed the event already, she knew how and when Fate would arrive. She gives Tota his role, which is to distract Fate by confronting him, and also a phone to contact them since he is too weak to use something as simple as telepathy. Kiri also tells Karen and Amaya that they are free to attack Fate while she and Kuromaru hide in the shadows. They would win when she touches Fate, as she had prepared a save point in the dungeon underneath Yukihimi's villa for Fate. Amaya tells Kiri to take all of them with her when she dies so that they all return to the save point with her. Kiri agrees and tells them to gather around her when she is about to die. Then she orders them all to their positions. Amaya wants to make use of a satellite to attack Fate, and Karen cautions him, but he reminds her that he is as useless as a sniper rifle in close combat. Tota asks what Yukihime thinks about their plans, and Kiri tells him that Fate can sense her presence and would not show up if she came to the mall. Meanwhile, a guy hooded like Enzo from Assassin's Creed collides with Tota and walks off. Tota then decides to search for Fate on his phone and sees a video that Yukihime had uploaded for him to satisfy his curiosity. It turns out that Fate and his grandfather had been on a team many years ago and had saved the world together with Yukihime. Tota's grandfather, Negi Springfield, had died, and Fate had become a crazy person who hated humanity. Now he wants Tota because of his connection to Negi, and she advises him to reject whatever Fate offers him. The time nears, and everyone waits patiently for the bad boss to appear. Tota is worried that Fate is after him when Fate is sighted. Tota looks around and finally sees him, but he stops Amaya from using the satellite as his foolish miscreant friends from the village are walking behind Fate. Kiri calls off the mission, but Tota tells her it is too late, as Fate has already seen him and is walking toward him. Tota waits for his miscreant friends who see him and runs to meet him. They exchange pleasantries. Amaya sees a window to attack Fate and is about to press the button when one of Fate's allies, a robot-looking waitress, attacks him. Tota pretends to be happy to see his friends but is angry that their plan to catch Fate has gone to the bucket. Just then, Fate joins them and introduces himself while holding Tota's friends hostage. Kiri is angry that their plan has gone to waste, but there is nothing that can be done, and Amaya is down. Tota's friends want to introduce themselves, but Fate already knows who they are. Tota is shocked, but Fate speaks gently to him, trying to get into his head. Fate wants Tota to follow him if he wishes to be great like his grandfather. Tota gets angry, but Fate reminds him that he could wipe out everyone in the mall in no time. Tota eventually surrenders, and Fate tells him to contact his allies and tell them to surrender as well. Fate teases him for being with Yukihime and insults her, but Tota reminds Fate that he and Yukihime used to work together. Tota rejects Fate's offer and calls his weapon, but Fate teases him for being very stupid, unlike his grandfather. Tota decides that the best thing would be to cause chaos, and he screams that there is a terrorist in the mall. Just then, Karen attacks Fate from behind. Karen is already moving toward her real goal, which is to get Tota's friends out of the way. Tota joins the fight and strikes Fate at the same time as Karen, but Fate blocks them both. Tota then increases the weight of the sword by 500,000 times and breaks Fate's barrier. Fate's ally wants to go help her boss, but she gives Amaya an opening, and he attacks her and then grabs the remote to activate the satellite. In the chaos, Kuromaru carries Kiri so that she can touch Fate. Fate uses a gravity spell to hold the attack from the satellite. Kuromaru throws Kiri and she lands on Fate's body, but before Kuromaru can defeat those he is fighting and join them, Fate petrifies her. Fate commends their effort and teases them for failing. Karen grabs Kiri and tells Tota that they have to escape, but Fate disperses the attack from the satellite and prepares to face them. He tells the foolish boy that he is drained and will have to rest before his power comes back up. Tota, more foolish than an egg that wants to battle a rock, moves forward to attack him. Karen wants to stop him, but the monk attacks her too. The monk introduces himself, and Karen does the same. Then Kuromaru screams that the monk has some crazy powers, so Karen should be careful. Asura, the six-armed guy, attacks him again, but the eagle-eyed Kuromaru is waiting. Amaya faces the waitress who snuck up on him, and after a quick introduction, every pair of opponents begins to battle. The fight is tough for the UQ holders while Tota and Fate Avarunkus stand looking at each other. Tota decides to use the flash step to fight Fate, but Fate catches onto him and counters, knocking him far away. Fate shows that he is also a master of the flash step, as he gets behind Tota in no time. Fate then summons many swords, but Tota blocks everything. Fate commends him but tells him that his grandfather would not have stressed himself as much as Tota. Tota teases him too, and decides to attack again. Tota showed how good he had gotten with Kurobo as he switched the weight at will, making Fate work up a sweat while defending himself. He managed to break through Fate's barrier again and made Fate take him seriously. Just then, he received a call from Karen, who wanted to report that Kiri's petrification would soon be over, so they should all gather around Fate by then. Tota decided that acting stupid would get Fate to make mistakes, and he started displaying some clownish behaviors. Fate covered the distance again using a flash step, and Tota realized his mistake. He dodged Fate's punch, but Fate caught up with him in time. Tota then increased the weight of the sword, pulling Fate to the ground. Just then, the petrification ended, and Kiri touched Tota. The others jumped forward and managed to touch Kiri too. She kills herself, and time flows back to her last save point. The others found themselves in the dungeon with Fate Avarunkus. They teased him for getting trapped by them, and Yukihime joined in the teasing. Fate was pissed that it was all Yukihime's plan and was about to start attacking Yukihime, but she had also set up her attack to destroy him. Fate considered his position and decided to surrender, asking Yukihime to let him out, which pissed Tota off. Fate told the youngsters that he would reward their attempt to capture him with any answer they wished to know. Tota, whose stupidity is higher than the Eiffel Tower, rushed forward to ask, but Karen stopped him and reminded him that he had to think. Kuromaru added that he must think very carefully about his question. Amaya, who is not interested in any of their family squabbles, asks Fate about his plans for Tota. Fate says that he wants to use Tota to save Negi Springfield, which which would save the world. Tota is shocked that his grandfather is alive, and Fate tells him to ask Yukihime about it. Karen goes next and asks Fate who Negi had loved more between her and Yukihime. The question makes Tota angry, but Karen wants to know. Yukihime gets mad and tells Karen to see her later for a spanking. That would be beautiful to watch. Fate answers that it was Yukihime who loved Negi after her love for his father, Nagi Springfield, had failed. But before he could continue, Yukihime showed off her ice powers, and Fate avoided the topic. Fate is not interested in Negi's love life and does not have a love of his own. Kuromaru steps forward and asks how urgent his need for Tota is. Fate answers that it is not urgent, which means that Tota does not have to follow him immediately. Tota praises Kuromaru for the question and faces Fate to ask his question. He praises Fate for not being as bad as they had made him out to be. Then he asks Fate if he is responsible for his parents' deaths, surprising everyone in the dungeon. Fate says he was, and Tota's aura changes, allowing Magia Arabia to surface. He pledges to beat him, but then a magical spell that the hooded guy had placed on Tota causes the image of Negi Springfield to appear in the room. Tota realizes that it is the guy from his vision and greets him. Negi greets Fate and Yukihime, but Yukihime suspects foul play. Then she uses telepathy to tell Kuromaru to check Tota's body for the sign of a spell and to destroy it. Tota asks the image of his grandfather why he wants him to go to the top of the tower. Negi's hologram tells Tota not to believe Fate, as he had lied to them. He turns to Fate and tells him that he understands why he had lied, which was to protect Tota. As he is speaking, Kuromaru sees the spell and slices it, making the hologram disappear. Tota is sad that his grandfather has disappeared while Fate speaks again, fighting with Yukihime. Tota is still at a loss that his grandfather had disappeared before telling him what he was saying. He wants to know the truth. Kiri chills out with Karin and Kuromaru, but she is not in a good mood because Yukihime has let Fate Avarunkus go. She was angry that she had not seen the celebrated grandfather of the incompetent and dumb idiot, Tota. Karen teases her, wondering if she is actually in love with Tota, but Kiri protests wildly. Meanwhile, the idiot is following Yukihime around, pestering her with questions about Negi Springfield, and upon reaching her office, rushed in and shut the door on the bumbling idiot's face. Some ladies appear at the UQ holder's villa and demand that the guard call Yukihime. A little girl also adds that they call Tota for her. Tota was busy, dressed as a waiter in a 5-star restaurant, but he was practicing with Kurobo. The dumb idiot did not realize that Yuki, the cleaning lady, was taking out some trash, and he slashed the trash bag. Tota confesses that he was frustrated, and Yuki forgives him. Kiri and Kuromaru spy on them, wondering how Yuki is getting close to Tota. Just then, Mizore, the strange girl who just came to the island with the other ladies, appeared after a crazy display that would feel at place in Arkham Asylum. She told Yuki to stay away from Tota, and Kiri, who had also appeared with Kuromaru, questioned Mizore's confidence. Mizore explained that Tota was from a family that made women cry, and that his great-grandfather Nagi Springfield had a harem, while Negi had taken after his father too. Mizore claimed that Negi Springfield had made her grandmother cry, so she had come to defeat him. She rushed forward and attacked Tota, but he blocked her and launched her into the air like she was a weightless hanky. Tota jumped after her and saved her, which made her blush. She commended him for meeting her standards, and decided to marry Tota to spare other women the pain they would go through. Tota rejected her offer politely. Meanwhile, her great-grandma Ayaka was having a meeting with Yukihime, and they talked about their time spent with Negi Springfield. Negi had taken up a teaching job at a school of exceptional beauties and brains. They all loved him, and he loved them too. Asuna teases one of the students in the classroom for trying to get Negi's favor by giving him food. The class all try to impress Negi with one thing or another. Yukihime, who was in the school too, sat at the window and watched as the girls fussed over Negi Springfield. He ate from everyone's food and became so bloated that Luffy at Gear 4th would be impressed. Ayaka and Yukihime laugh at the memories of the past. Tota goes back to his cleaning duties, and Mizore, who has become taken in by the young man, decides to join them in their duties. She became a servant to bring food for Tota. Kiri, Kuromaru, and Karin watch her actions from afar and are sad that she is putting so much into trying to get Tota. Tota enjoys the meal that Mizore got for him, which Kiri doubts she had prepared herself. Then he saw the bandages on Mizore's hands, showing that she had done the cooking herself. Kiri and Kuromaru concluded that Mizore was a good girl and wanted Tota for herself, making them feel sad. Karin teases Kiri for being in love with Tota but denies it. Karin then gives a lesson to the dumbfounded Kiri and Kuromaru about the difference between the immortals and ordinary humans. Karin tells them to give up, as Tota would go for the humans over the immortals anytime. Ameya joins them and tells them that he has the solution to their problems. Ameya, who had been eavesdropping for a long time, told them that they could make Tota fall in love with them if they washed his back in a hot spring. They doubted him, but Ameya piqued their interest when he threatened to share his information with Mizore and Yuki. Yukihime and the old Ayaka discussed the appearance of Negi at her villa. Yukihime announced that Negi was still bound by a certain woman, and if he had appeared as they saw with the hologram, then she must have allowed him. The old lady entered Yukihime's mental space, and they discussed her behavior towards Tota. The old lady accused Yukihime of not allowing Tota to enjoy life because she was afraid that she would lose him. They continue to talk about the past while Ameya and Tota have a hot soak in the hot spring. Ameya told Tota his story. He had an accident and has been in a coma for over 70 years. Tota wonders why Ameya is sharing his story, and he tells him that he is waiting for the girls to make up their minds. The girls, in their different locations, were planning how to get Tota by scrubbing his back in the hot spring. Karen appears first, and Ameya is shocked that Karen is also interested in Tota. Karen bullied bullied Tota and forced him to turn his back while she used a hard brush to scrub his back. Kiri jumps forward and kicks Karen away, then begins to argue with Karen about what she has done. The two girls see that Yuki has gone to scrub Tota's back, but Mizore does not let her complete it. Kiri and Mizore rush forward and start competing to see who will scrub the fastest, not minding the idiot's feelings in the matter. Kuromaru appears and takes Tota away, saving him from the hot-blooded nubile young ladies. He told Tota to turn and that he would save him from the evil lover girls. Kiri and Mizore jump in their midst, and Tota flies off to fall into the pool, while Kiri decides to teach Kuromaru a lesson for trying to sabotage her plans. Meanwhile, Tota is at a loss as to why they want to scrub his back. Yukihime joins him in the pool and asks about the excitement. Tota tells her, and then she begins to scrub his back while the lover girls battle one another. They look up and see Yukihime scrubbing Tota's back. She apologized for her behavior earlier, and Tota forgives her. After she completed the scrubbing, the girls waited for the great explosion of love. But nothing happened. Ameya appeared and told them that Tota and Yukihime already cared so much for each other. Tota wants to talk more, but Yukihime tells him to talk to her later. After the hot soak, Yuki checks out her injuries, and Mizore offers her a balm. Then they talk about their childish behaviors earlier. Both girls promise not to give up their fight to get Tota. Tota goes to meet Yukihime, who has turned into her real self, which upsets Tota a bit. Tota asks her if she loves Negi Springfield, and Yukihime confesses that she loves him. Yukihime then told him that it was not Negi who appeared. Negi had fought a wizard 20 years earlier, and won, but had been possessed by the wizard, the mage of the beginning. Yukihime told Tota that she and Fate wanted to save Negi from the possession of the wizard, but they had different methods and goals for achieving that goal. Tota reminded Yukihime that Negi wanted to tell him something before he disappeared, and Yukihime told him that they could not be too sure that Negi was speaking as himself. She reminded the idiot that Fate had said he was the one who killed Tota's parents, but it was not true. Yukihime told Tota that it was not his parents who died 2 years ago, but he was created 2 years ago, and was the clone of Negi Springfield. The information came as a shock to Tota. He starts moping about it so much that even the dull Kuromaru tries to cheer him up when he tells him about it. Tota refuses to be cheered, and Mizore steps in. She comes to his room with Kiri to drag him out of his funk. She tells him that they should go to a martial arts tournament. Yukihime tells Ayaka that she has told Tota about him being a clone, while Mizore shows the incompetent idiot around the capital and the tournament arena. So many people have come for the tournament from around the world. Tota asks if he can fight too, even though he is not human, and Mizore says that he only has to win the preliminary round. Tota runs off to register, and Mizore runs after him. Kiri is pissed that the incompetent idiot has been distracted, and Kuromaru tells her that Tota has been feeling down. Kuromaru refuses to tell her about it, and Kiri bullies him. When they get to the registration desk, Tota is told that he cannot register, as all the contestants have been selected ages ago. However, if someone drops out, they could fit him in. This makes Tota feel more down, but he tells Mizore that it will give him time to prepare for the next competition. Ayaka joins the mismatched lovebirds and teases her great-granddaughter for getting attracted to Tota. Ayaka introduces another lady to Tota. She is Mana Tatsumiya, the director of the martial arts tournament. The lady who has been following Ayaka around is Chachamaru, and she looks like a robot. Mana tells Tota that his grandfather had taught at the school years ago, and that they were his students. Ayaka then asks Tota to follow her after getting permission from the lovesick Mizore. Yuki complains about being left alone and overhears Yukihime planning to go to the capital with Karen, who is obsessed with her. Tota sees the classroom his father had taught in when he was 10. He has been very shy and caught the heart of every girl in the class. A pale white girl also comes to meet Tota to say hi, but Tota wonders if she is a ghost as he can almost see through her. Mizore is pissed that Ayaka would take her man and fusses in front of the building they had taken Tota to before Kiri joins her with Kuromaru. Kiri accuses her of making out with Tota, and then Mizore starts bawling that her great-grandma is making out with Negi Springfield's grandson, Tota. Ayaka gets up from the wheelchair and praises Tota for his resemblance to Negi Springfield, but the idiot decides to put a shoe in the cake and tells the beautiful old ladies that he is only a clone. The ladies are not surprised and tell him that Negi would have accepted him as his grandson. Tota becomes happy with the way the ladies show their love for him, and Ayaka, thinking she is still young, gives the incompetent and naive protagonist Tota a bear hug. Chachamaru stops Ayaka before she injures herself. Then they hear Mana get a call about the tournament. One of the contestants has been injured, and they need a replacement. Tota will finally get to compete. Tota gets to the arena of the fight, and his friends decide to support him. Mizore, Kiri, and Kuromaru scream their support, while Tota's opponent, who is called Cutlass, appears. It is the hooded guy who collided with Tota and placed the communication spell on him. Cutlass smirks, waiting for Tota to attack, which he does, but Cutlass immediately summons a weapon and blocks Tota's strike. Cutlass swings his sword and sends Tota flying back, then follows him to continue the attack. Tota manages to stay on his feet and praises the guy for being a strong opponent. Cutlass gets pissed and increases his attack, calling Tota his brother. Kuromaru told the others that Cutlass has so much bloodlust, which is not needed in healthy competition. Meanwhile, Mana went to check on the contestant who was injured, and was told that Cutlass had attacked him to take his place. Tota struggles with Cutlass and almost gets an opening to attack Cutlass, but is knocked back with a magic spell. Cutlass then uses a crazy spell to slash Tota in two. Kiri and Kuromaru scream, and Mizore asks if Tota is okay. Kuromaru told her that they could not do anything because of the barrier that surrounded the arena. Tota revives and, in a mad rage, allows Magia Arabia to take over. Cutlass is not phased and insults him for his ugliness with the powerful magic. Toda attacks and Cutlass finds himself running around in defense, but he still stabs Toda after bringing out another sword. Cutlass then uses several blades to pierce Toda and hold him to the ground. Cutlass teases Toda for being a poor copy of Negi Springfield. Toda feels down, but Kuramaru and the others scream their encouragement. Tota breaks the weapon binding him to the ground and punches Cutlass, revealing that he is a girl. Just then, Negi Springfield himself appears in the arena and stands beside Cutlass. He frees Toda from the binding spell. The ladies become excited at seeing Negi Springfield in the arena, but Mana joins them and tells them that it is not Negi Springfield but the mage of the beginning, who has come to take Toda. Negi tries to get Toda to follow him, but Toda wants to know why he is late in coming for him. Negi says he does not know where he is, and Cutlass explains to the dumb idiot of a clone that Negi had sent visions of himself to all the people who shared his blood around the world. Negi scolds the foul-mouthed girl for insulting Tota and tells Toda that Yukihime has kept him a secret from the world. As if on cue, Yukihime appears and attacks immediately without asking any questions. Then Yukihime stands between Negi and Tota and scolds the mage of the beginning, who is using Negi's body. They decide to fight it out, and two allies of Negi suddenly appear and bind Yukihime with a spell. A swordsman who looks like he escaped from the anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, jumps to attack Tota, but Kuramaru and Karin jump in time to block the strike. Tota gets back his sword and gets ready to join the fight. The bad guys with Negi Springfield as the leader face off against the UQ holders. Negi teases them, and his friends defend him. Then Tota tells Negi that he will not let him win. Yukihime told her allies about their opponents. There is Yue, who is all-knowing, Nodoka, who is all-seeing, and Jack Raken, the greatest swordsman. She adds that she is not interested in fighting the deadly group. Just then, Negi Springfield gives a powerful sneeze, as he does, and rips the clothes off everyone in the arena. Tota is lost as he sees all the ladies in his life unclad. Negi must be a bigger pervert than Jiraiya for him to use a sneeze to remove people's clothes. Yukihime told her allies to be careful, as Negi is not someone to trifle with. Yuki reaches the capital just as the fight is about to start and sees a crazy cloud in the sky. Inside the arena, Kiri shouted that they all did not have to fight, since if Negi wanted Tota, he should just convince him to join their team. Unfortunately for her, Yue read her mind and announced Kiri's actual thoughts. She wanted to delay them so they could figure out their weaknesses, and of course, the dumb incompetent idiot did not figure it out. Yukihime told her allies that Yue has a diary that allows her to know everything about her opponent. Yue then asked Tota to follow them, but he asked why he had to follow them, and Nodoka explained that he was the only successful clone from the combined Negi and Asuna. Tota rejects their offer, and a strange voice of an unknown person speaks, saying that he would take Tota, but it seems that Yukihime knows the person, as she frowns in recognition. Tota was suddenly teleported to another dimension. Tota sees Yukihime walking aimlessly and in exhaustion before collapsing. He tries to run to her but is teleported to another time in the past, and he sees a castle at the edge of a cliff. A strange man who was all smiles was beside him, and gave his name as Kunel Sanders, but Kurobo, the sword, told Tota that the man's real name was Albireo Ima, the blacksmith who made the sword. Kurobo warns Tota that Albireo is a worse demon than Yukihime, and that pisses off the strange man, who still did not stop smiling but showed his colors when he punished the sword. Albireo turns to Tota and introduces himself as Yukihime's friend whose mission is to convince him. Tota sees Yukihime falling out of the castle down the cliff, and then a good-looking man with red hair like Negi catches her. It was Nagi Springfield, Negi's father. Yukihime has fallen in love with Nagi ever since he saved her and followed him everywhere, refusing to leave until he became hers. Tota is surprised by Yukihime's annoying behavior, and then Albireo takes him to another memory when Negi became a teacher at the academy. Yukihime was happy to see Nagi's son and took him under her wing. Yukihime had taken Negi not just under her wings, but as her sub, and sometimes asked him to do evil things like lick her feet. Asuna had to step in and save Negi from the evil dom. Eventually Negi succumbed to Yukihime and at the same time grew so much stronger. The memory shifts again, and Tota sees Yukihime advising Negi on life, and then she makes out with him. Yukihime has been so happy being with Negi, then Tota thanks Albireo for showing him the images of the past as he saw Yukihime happy. Albireo confessed that it was not images of the past, and then Tota turned to see that Yukihime recognized him. Just then, Lalda Bouth, the mage of the beginning, appears and holds Yukihime hostage. Tota tries to help, but Albireo attacks him from behind, and then Lalda teases him. Albireo then used a gravity spell on Tota, pinning him to the ground. Lalda tells Tota to join her, and she will make Yukihime happy. Tota manages to crawl over to Yukihime and touch her, healing both of them in an instant. He carries her and encourages her to be strong, but Yukihime cries, saying that no one can remain with her and walk with her forever. She recalled the accident where Tota's parents had asked her to save Tota. She had asked Tota if he was willing to walk with her forever, and then Tota hugged her, telling her that he would walk with her forever. Lalda Bouth teases Tota, but he accuses her of causing Yukihime suffering. Lalda then attacks them, but Tota dodges it. Yukihime then asks Tota to drop her, and explains that Lalda Bouth had dragged them into a world she rules over. Yukihime becomes serious and activates a crazy spell, running towards Lalda with the eager idiot Tota by her side. Before they can strike, Yukihime sees an image of Nagi and his son Negi, which stops her in her tracks. Negi declares his love for Yukihime and kisses her, but Tota breaks them up and Negi attacks him. Tota scolds Yukihime for being in love with his grandfather and great-grandfather, but she defends herself. Then the fight continues. Lalda breaks Yukihime's ice attack, and Nagi knocks Tota into a stream with a punch. Tota sees Yukihime beaten by Lalda and wants to go help her, but some ghosts appear and plead with him to save them. The ghosts drag Tota into the river, and he starts to drift off. Asuna appears and scolds him for giving up. Then she uses her sword to break the spell that Lalda had used on him. She introduces herself herself, and Tota realizes that she is his grandma, as Yue had explained earlier. Yukihime joins them and wonders how Asuna, who was supposed to be dead, was there. Asuna confessed that her real body is still sleeping in her arms after their last battle there 20 years ago. But she is also inside Tota. Tota watches as Asuna fusses over Yukihime like she is her baby sister, but Yukihime does not like it one bit. Tota then looks around and sees his friends, Karen, Kuromaru, and Kiri. Lalda Bouth is pissed that Asuna has appeared and attacked them all, but Asuna blocks her attacks. Asuna explained that time has paused in the real world so that she can tell them how to beat Lalda Bouth in the real world. Lalda tries one more attack, but Asuna sets up a barrier and tells Tota that he needs to fight for 37 seconds to activate the power to defeat Lalda Bouth. Then she steps forward and slashes Lalda with her sword, which breaks the spell and allows time to continue. Tota and his allies rush forward to attack. Kiri goes after Jack Raken as Asuna had told her. Jack knows about her power, so he would not kill her. Kiri attacks Jack's eyes, allowing Karin to strike him with her holy fist. Kuromaru goes after Yue and Nodoka. He clones himself, but they know the real one and destroy all the clones, trapping the real Kuromaru. Asuna had told Kuromaru how to deal with the two girls, and he bound them with a spell. Tota is running towards Negi when Cutlass stands before him to stop him, but Yukihime freezes Cutlass, which allows Tota to run past. Tota jumps to attack Negi, but Negi disappears and reappears behind him. Tota turns in time to block the sword that would have ripped him apart from head to toe. Karen uses taijutsu with Jack Raken, who teases her for bouncing her melons all over the place as they fight. Yue and Nodoka tease Kuromaru too for the weak binding spell he had used on them. Tota, who was fighting Negi, tries to reason with him, but so many undead spirits come out of Negi, and Lalda teases Tota. Just then, Fate and Yukihime appear and block Negi's sword. Fate then uses a spell to take out their spirits so that Tota can see the real Negi, uncorrupted by Lalda Bouth. Negi greets Tota, Fate, and Yukihime. Then Fate tells Negi that Tota is the key to freeing him from Lalda. At the same time, he would be able to give everyone in the world the gift of immortality. Negi thanks Fate and reminds him that he would have to kill him before it can work. Fate, who used to be so strong-willed, becomes calm and scared as he does not want Negi to die. Negi then tells Tota that he has a lot to tell him, but Tota tells his idiotic grandfather to spend his time with Yukihime. Yukihime rushes into Negi's arms like a baby reaching for its mother, and Negi cuddles her. They have no time for sweet talks as Lalda brings them back to the real world, and the fight continues. Fate and Yukihime use their sealing spell to bind Negi, but he breaks it immediately, and his body starts to glow. Negi attacks Fate and Yukihime and knocks them down in no time. As he tries to attack his idiotic grandson, Tota's body begins to glow also, and they fight on. Yue and Nodoka break free from Kuromaru's spell and beat him up, while Jack Raken, who had been on the defense with Karin, decides to go on the offense. He hits her with a barrage of punches that would make Muhammad Ali look like a pansy. Tota suffers at the hands of his grandfather too, as they run around destroying the capital. Tota has to use Kurobo's weight to escape, but Negi is waiting for him. Tota realizes that he might have underestimated his grandfather. Yuki, who is still patrolling the city looking for Tota, almost gets caught in the chaotic destruction in the city. Tota gets crazy angry and starts to punch his father like a punching bag. As he continues beating Negi like a ball, Jack Raken, who had made a mess of Karen, appears behind Tota and stabs him, ending the fight. Negi is pissed, but the evil witch Lalda and his team had won, while Tota's team is all lying wasted and injured in one corner or the other. Negi brings out a spear and is about to strike Tota when Kiri jumps in front of him, daring the idiotic grandfather to kill her. Negi steps up to her and praises her for her love for his grandson Tota, but she denies it. Unfortunately for her, Yue knows all and confirms it to be true. Kiri scolds Yue for reading her mind, and Negi commends her. Kiri turns to assure Tota that it is not true, but she is stabbed by Cutlass. Cutlass then forces her mouth open and removes a poison pill that Kiri had hidden in her teeth. Tota gets mad at the way Cutlass is rough-handling Kiri, who removes the second poison pill that Kiri had hidden in her mouth. Kiri then reminded them that they all had to stall Negi, as Asuna had ordered them to. Immediately a spell was activated, and Negi found himself in front of his students. They greet the surprised idiot and then begin attacking him with different spells. He dodges some and gets hit by others. They try to get him back to himself with all the attacks, but it does not seem to be working. Tota stands at the sidelines and watches them battle with Negi. Negi seems to overcome all their feeble attempts. Tota is surprised to see Yukihime in the past too, and watches as she attacks Negi with a powerful spell, but the spell still does not stop him. Yukihime was just a distraction for some other girls to attack Negi with a slow-acting drug. Chachimaru attacks too, but her satellite cannon has been changed to a laser beam that would rip their clothes to shreds, and they laugh at the memories since Negi does that to them too. Asuna then appears before Negi and reminds him of his beliefs. She then transports them to another place where she is alone with Negi and Tota. Asuna praises Yue and Nodoka for keeping Negi sane while he was possessed by Lalda Bouth. She tells them that she will be joining them soon, and then tells Tota to do the rest. Lalda's possession becomes stronger, and she speaks to Asuna directly. She mocks Asuna's attempt to stop her from taking Tota. Asuna teases Lalda for failing in her mission again, and then announces that she will be leaving. Negi then tells Tota that he will be waiting for his answer at the top of the tower. Tota tries to get Negi to talk more, but a bright light blinds him briefly, and he sees that the enemies have disappeared. He is left standing with Yukihime and the rest of the good guys. They marvel at the damage and then hear the police arrive at the arena. The rest of the UQ holders also arrive at the scene, and Jinbei discusses the fight with Makabe. Jinbei used a secret technique to protect everyone in the arena, while Ameya and Yuki used their technology to help people out of the damaged building. Mizori is sad that she did not see Tota fighting, but Ayaka assures her that it is better that way. She thinks of Negi, who always takes on the fight for everyone else. Yukihime and Fate decide to put their hostility on hold, but Fate promises to deal with her if she gets in his way again. Tota, who was standing with his trusted buddies and looking up at the tower, promised to meet up with Negi. Unknown to him, a strange woman is watching him and smiling like she has something up her sleeve. They return to the UQ holders' headquarters, and Tota sits by a stream. The girls, including Kuromaru, gather to talk about Kiri's confession of love at the arena. They tease her for it, but she protests, saying that she was only stalling for time. Tota agrees with her and thanks her for it, but back at the mansion, the girls don't believe her. They hear Tota walking and follow him to Yukihime's office. They want to know what the bumbling idiot has to say. Tota takes a deep breath and shouts that he loves Yukihime. Yukihime rushes and gives him a punch that sends him flying backward. He comes back and scolds her for punishing him despite his love. Tota confesses that he made his decision when he saw her crying during the fight with Laldabaoth. He does not want her to disappear if she doesn't have someone who loves her and decides to be her true love. He promises to walk with her forever and asks her to marry him. Yukihime rejects his proposal, which breaks his heart. Karen, who is with the girls, scolds him for proposing to her boss. Then she attacks him, but Tota runs away, and Yukihime, smiling to herself, announces that Tota is 500 years too late with his proposal. The anime seems to come to a good close as Tota Konoe, whose stupidity is matched only by his ability